Metal Jesus here, and I'm back again with part 3 of my Xbox 360 Hidden Gems series. Now, I've already covered 16 other games, so if you haven't seen those videos, well, look below and I'll post a link in the description because there's some awesome games. I've been having just a ton of fun capturing this footage. Speaking of which, I think this video actually has some of my favorites. This is going to be a really cool video. Let's take a look. Blur is a racing game I'm pretty excited to cover in this video because honestly, I think it's one of the best arcade racing games of the 360 generation. This is a game made by Bizarre Creations, which is a developer that has a lot of experience making great racing games. They made Project Gotham Racing. Now, think Need for Speed meets Mario Kart, and you get an idea of just how awesome this game is. The reason why I compare it to Mario Kart is because you have weapons in this game, including missiles, bombs, you have electricity traps, you also have a pulse wave that will knock back other drivers around you. And you pick up these weapons by driving over these icons on the road, and you can store up to 3 of them on your bumper. And then you can cycle through them and use them as needed. So you can be very strategic as you're racing around and destroying other cars. The game has over 50 licensed cars to unlock with a really fun campaign mode. But honestly, split screen multiplayer is where this game is at. Up to 4 players at a time can be playing in split screen. So invite a bunch of buds over and sit on the couch and do some racing, which is pretty awesome. Or up to 20 players can be online. This is definitely one of the funnest games I played in a long while. It's really a shame that it didn't sell more copies, and unfortunately the developer was ultimately shut down. So it's kind of a bittersweet game because it was so awesome and you know there's never going to be a sequel. Space Marine is a third-person action game that is a mix of weapon shooting and hand-to-hand fighting.
Second Lieutenant Mira, 203rd Cadian Regiment.
Captain Titus of the Ultramarines.
You are in command.
I'm all that's left, my lord. Unless my commanders rise from the grave. So far, they seem content to stay put.
Lieutenant.
Basically, this game is all about destroying just hordes and hordes, waves and waves of these orcs that just seem to come out of nowhere and just attack you relentlessly. This game has pretty decent graphics too. I don't know what I was thinking, maybe I thought this would be like a budget title, but actually it looks like a AAA title. It looks pretty good. Also, the game just makes you feel like a total badass, which is kind of what you should feel like when you're playing a Space Marine game. Also, one of my favorite parts of this game are the finishing moves that you can execute against an enemy, where you just take them down and beat the tar out of them, and it gives you health. Now, this game does feel a bit repetitive over time, so it's not the best third-person action game, but I thought it was pretty satisfying, especially if you can find it for relatively cheap. I found it at a garage sale for like a couple bucks, and I definitely got my money's worth. Asura's Wrath plays like an interactive Japanese anime TV series. And I gotta be honest with you, this game is batshit crazy. I mean, I had no idea what was happening for the first 30 minutes in this game. I was just like, what is all this?
Worthless scum! I'll kill you!
But as you get into the game, you realize it's just basically a third-person brawler that feels kind of similar to maybe God of War in its combat, but it doesn't have anywhere near the exploration. But you know what this game does have? It's got rage. I mean, this dude he's angry, man. He's got lots of rage.
Shut up!
The graphics are pretty good too, and I really like the character design. These characters are, again, just crazy, wacky Japanese characters and always really fun to look at. I think the only downside to this game is that there are an awful lot of quick time events, and they're kind of lame, and they're definitely overused during the cutscenes. It's just one of those games where you're just like, did they need to add so many quick time events, no. But the combat is actually pretty good, and it's not too difficult. ChromeHounds was developed by From Software. Now, that may sound kind of familiar. That's because they also made Demon and Dark Souls, as well as the Armored Core series of mech games. In this game, you create your hound or mech from literally hundreds of parts that you either unlock from the single player mode or you buy online. And I'll admit, I was pretty surprised by this game because sometimes mech games can go too far towards a simulation, or maybe they're too far towards arcade, and this game feels just right. I mean, I like how gritty and realistic this game feels, but it never loses sight of being fun. And I'll tell you what, man, those explosions, they are always satisfying. They never get old. The game is exclusive to the Xbox 360, and honestly, Xbox Live multiplayer is where this game really shines. As a matter of fact, it's considered one of the all-time best Xbox Live games ever made. Ah yes, Eat Lead, the return of Matt Hazard. This game is made by Vicious Cycle, and the reason why I'm laughing is because this is the definition of a hidden gem. This game is not perfect by any means, yet if you have a good sense of humor and you're willing to put up with a game that's not perfect, this is for you.
So, it's pretty obvious you're not the brains of the operation. Who's in charge?
You don't come around here flapping your gums and asking questions. You best be on your way before I make me some pig sushi.
I'm sorry. Did I miss something in the script? Is this game set in 1972?
Keep talking, Hazard. You got about 10 seconds before I go upside your head, kung fu style.
Okay. How about we skip that and you just tell me where the money is?
So what is this game about? Well, let me describe it to you. Basically, you are stuck in a video game as an aging action hero. Think Duke Nukem, some action hero that's been away for many years, and he's trying to make a comeback, and things are not going his way. He's kind of getting passed up. Time is passing him by. And what this game tries to do is parody a bunch of action game cliches. Now, this is not an amazing shooter by any means, but it's just weird and random enough to kind of keep you going. For instance, there's this one level where it starts with these cowboys and it's sort of a Western shootout. But then you'll go through a door and around a corner and all of a sudden you're in a modern day club with dancers. And then, for whatever reason, it starts to snow. And that's because the game is being hacked in real time. And that's kind of what he has to try to figure out. Who's trying to sabotage his comeback? But like I mentioned before, the game is laugh out loud funny. It has some really great moments in it. Is it a great game? No. But if you can put up with kind of a mediocre third-person shooter, definitely go for it.
That definitely validates my coolness.
Tenchu Z is a stealth game set in ancient Japan that features a lot of sneaking around, killing off targets, buckets and buckets of blood, and lots of cool finishing moves. I play a lot of stealth games. As a matter of fact, it's one of my favorite genres, but even I found this game to be pretty challenging, and that's because you cannot just run around and slash dudes. You really have to be very patient, hide in the shadows, sneak around, take guys out one by one. It's actually pretty satisfying. This was an early Xbox 360 title, so it's not exactly a great looking game, but it does run at a pretty high frame rate. You can usually find this game fairly cheap, so if you like stealth games like me and sneaking around a lot, give it a go. Fuel is another racing game that's also a hidden gem, and one I wanted to mention on this video. This is an open world racing game similar to maybe Test Drive Unlimited, but way more off-road going on here. Also, this game is massive. It's over 5,000 square miles to explore. I really like the gritty, apocalyptic graphics that are going on here. It's so dark and creepy, yet beautiful. I mean, it's definitely a stunning looking game. And the feel of the game kind of reminds me of Test Drive Unlimited as well. It feels kind of like a mix of arcade and simulator, so it's just the right amount of balance for me because it's not too frustrating, yet it still keeps its fun factor. And there's no shortage of things to do in this game. For instance, there are just tons of vehicles to unlock with over 72 races and 190 challenges. But probably my favorite part of this game is its open worldness. And what I mean by that is that there's really nothing stopping you from going off track. So if you are on a road and you know where the goal is way up down the road and you think that there's a better shortcut by going off road, do it. And often the game will reward you, and often that will make you win the race. Shadows of the Damned. This is one of my favorite hidden gems of the last generation.
More darkness dead ahead. At least we're standing on the bright side of things this time.
If you can call this bright.
This is a hilarious horror action game that is a collaboration between the creator of Resident Evil 4 and No More Heroes with music from the creator of the Silent Hill series, which just happens to be one of my favorites. And this game is just sick and wrong, but in one of those kind of B-movie grindhouse sort of ways. You play as a badass Mexican demon hunter who travels to the City of the Damned to rescue his true love. Now, it sounds pretty generic, but I gotta tell you, this game is anything but generic. To give you an example here, your companion is a smart mouth skull that can transform between a torch, a motorcycle, and then a gun called the Boner. But that's not it. You also upgrade the gun to a hot boner as the game goes on. Why? I don't know. I mean, why not, you know? You definitely need a twisted sense of humor to enjoy this game, but I love it. Speaking of which, this game is just as much fun to watch as it is to play. It's almost like watching, like I said, a grindhouse movie. As a matter of fact, I finished the game myself, but I enjoyed it just as much whenever I had a young nephew come over and play through it. And we were laughing our ass off the whole time. It's just a really sick and twisted game. It's really fun. I like it a lot.
Let her go. But can't you see the little peach is coming on to me?
Come on to this, pendejo.
All right, well, there is another stack of awesome 360 hidden gems. But you know what? There is another genre that not a lot of people talk about on the 360 that I kind of want to cover here at the end, and that is shoot-em-ups. Now, I've got a couple here, and I kind of want to go through them a little bit because for whatever reason, a lot of really awesome shoot-em-ups came out on the 360, like Akai Katana. This is a game that, again, I didn't know very much about, but some people recommended it to me. Really awesome, very hard shooter. Another one, there's a couple Raiden games. I never know how to say this, but I always call it Raiden. I don't know if that's right or not, but anyway, here's Raiden 4, and there's also like Aces or something like that. Again, really well made, awesome game. Another one, this is probably one of my all-time favorite shoot-em-ups on any system, and I love it on the 360. It's Deathsmiles. This is a fantastic shooter, and what I love about it is that stuff blows up really good. This is a really fun game, completely crazy and wacky and just over the top. I mean, how many games do you have where there's a boss that's a cow? You know what I mean? And I love that sort of stuff. So this is a really cool find on the 360. And then I think one of the last ones that I own is Otomedius, excellent. I'm not sure how you pronounce that either, but this is the collector's special edition thing here. And you know, this isn't a great game. It reminds me of Gradius a little bit, but still pretty cool. And there's a bunch more, especially if you import games from Japan. So I'd love to know down in the comments below, what are your thoughts on shoot-em-ups on the 360? Why do you think so many came out for the system? And which ones do you collect? Which ones do you recommend? And I'm also interested too, because there were a lot of them that were only released digitally on Xbox Live Arcade. So I'd love to hear what you guys thought about that. As always, I want to thank you for watching my channel and thank you for subscribing. Take care.